Hello fellow YouTubers, in this video I'm going to try to install these two Western Digital RAID hard drives into my Temjin case, TJ08 case. Now, first things first, in this particular configuration I cannot install this case. Now the reason being is, if you look inside, the USB 3.0 cable is actually in the way. Now, I don't even know what to say, guys, whether it's just the motherboard being funky or whether the Silverstone didn't think well enough about putting everything together, because it's just impossible. I'll show you there. If I slide my case right in, now you must remember this is the standard Silverstone fan, so it's not in the way, and that's it. I'm about 1 centimeter short because cable is sticking out. Now the ironic part is the cable is actually supplied by the Silverstone, so yeah, hence I don't really understand why they didn't think about it. Okay, so the way around this is I've already plugged in. This is from USB 2.0 to USB 3.0, and basically what I'll have to do is I'll have to get rid of my front USB 3.0 ports in order to plug everything correctly. So just gonna see, yep, has to be around, and that's it. So that part is done. Later I'll have just to tuck these cables nicely in, and if we try this again, no problem at all. Okay, another thing to think about, I'll show you there in a sec. Just have to ground myself, guys. So the hard drives, what do you think of that? So it seems that hard drive doesn't really fit the way they're supposed to in this case. Now there are two options. Option number one, remove this fan and maybe position it here. That should be still enough of the airflow to keep the CPU cooled, since I don't overclock. Option number two, which I'll probably go with in the future, is to install the adapters basically, so I could place my hard drives into the CD bay. Now let's try to open up the case and I'll show you guys if option number two is gonna work. So just give me a sec. Okay guys, welcome back. So here's the dilemma. This is the top removed off the case. This is my power supply. Now the power supply takes the air from the top and exhausts it at the back, so it's not a problem. The thing is that the whole this place is cluttered with cables. That's where I do my cable management. That's where I hide my cables. So if I get the adapters here, so there'll be one here, another here for the hard drives, I can do the cables on the sides and things like that, but it wouldn't be ideal thing to do, I suppose. It would involve me to change the whole cable management, as in kind of to redo it again on the top here. Now, as bad as it sounds, it's actually not the worst case. I'll show you what is my alternative, if you give me one sec. And we're back, guys. So the alternative obviously is to remove this, put the cage back in, everything's hunky-dory. I lose the USB 3.0 port in for a change to USB 2. Okay, so it's not that bad, right? Wrong. The problem is, when I remove this part of the CPU cooler would be a bit hotter, because this part is sufficiently cool because the air is pushed there and pulled there, so this part is fine. This part is not so much, and it's going to heat up. Now the heat is not going to be excessive, but it's going to be around 30 to 45 degrees depending on what do I do with my PC. And the hard drive will be sitting like so, nearly touching the CPU cooler. So the problem is that the hard drive will be getting all the heat from the CPU, and I don't like that. Now obviously this thing will be pushing air that way and the hard drives will be cooled, so that's brilliant. But there will be no cooler actually to cool down this part, so you still get some heat. So guys, I'm a bit puzzled whether the whole config is worth it, whether I should just get the adapters for the top part of the case, put them in where there's no cooling at all because there's no fan at the front, and the PSU doesn't have too hot, so that's not a problem, but there's no cooling there, and the graphics card is actually pushing hot air up, so it's bad. Or where hard drives is here, once again it's not great. So let's try to install the cage over here, put the hard drives in there for the moment, and we'll see how do they perform and do they heat up or not. So I'll see you guys in a sec. Okay, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna install the hard drives in the cage. So they will go like so. So yeah, I'm gonna secure the hard drives and I'll come back to you guys in a sec. Okay guys, so there we are. I've installed the hard drives into the cage and I slipped the cage back to where it should be. I haven't secured the two screws yet. Now the reason being is because the gap is so narrow, I need still to try and install the SATA and the power cables. Now being an angled cables, it shouldn't be a big problem. However, I think it might be a not ideal scenario. So there's a couple options there guys really. If you have a case like this and a setup like this and you're in trouble as well, or you're just thinking what should you do, you have two options. Option number one, get rid of this cooler and get something like what is it, 212 cooler master, I think, or something like that. 212 cooler, which is quite a good cooler actually. So replacing a cooler, this would shrink a bit, and then you have plenty of space for your cables, for your proper, fan for the two fans for the cooler and everything. And the cooling would be kind of close to this, not as good, and you won't be able to overclock it to the same specs as with this one. Okay. Option number two is a bit more drastic, is get rid of the case, get a proper case where you can fit everything in. So guys, just give me 1 second, I'll sum everything up. Okay guys, and welcome back. So to sum everything up, if you have exactly the same case and the same setup inside or similar setup inside, including the cooler, you might not be able to actually install the two 3.5-inch hard drives. You can have an adapter up there and do it that way, but I don't like it because all the heat rises, and for hard drives it's the worst thing to do, because hard drives wouldn't work great if you have 45 or 50 degrees at the top of the case. It would be a disaster. So there's no options really there guys, apart from replacing the Noctua cooler with something like Cooler Master, I think it is, 212, and that would shrink the cooler, kind of taking space a bit down, and you'd be able to properly install the cage and everything. Now even with that, you won't be able to plug in the USB 3.0, which in my opinion is a disaster. There should be, if there is a cable provided, if there are ports provided, the USB 3.0 should work. So all in all, I'm thinking about two options. Option number one is to get rid of this cooler and get something like 212 or something slimmer and install everything as I wanted to, and basically live without USB 3.0 at front. And another option would be just to get rid of the whole case, get a proper tower and install everything back in. So guys, let me know what you think would be the best option for myself. If you have a similar setup, have you done something differently, and have you accommodated the big cooler and the hard drives? And obviously rate the video if you liked it, click the like button and subscribe, and thanks guys for watching. Have a nice day.